Welcome everyone to another episode of Into the Pit, and I have here Miss Michelle Gray. She is a paranormal investigator, and she's had some experiences throughout her life, and so we're going to get to know her, talk about some of these experiences, and just have a good time, have a great conversation. So, how are
Sounds
you
good.
today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on, Kyle.
Oh, of course. Now, Michelle, as I said, we're going to talk about your experiences and things, but you are part of a group.
I am Hood Paranormal out of Granbury.
Okay, that's up around Fort Worth, Texas. For some of you folks that don't know,
It is.
you know what I learned about Texas? Every time there's a bad storm system that goes through, I
We
hear of
shut.
a I
Yeah.
hear of a town I've never heard of before. So.
Oh, well, we shut down. We're not going out in that mess. That's not our mess. That's the Yankees dropping in on us.
But anyway, I wanted to get to know a little bit more about the things you experienced as a child. I mean, I know that you weren't really open to talk about it before, and
No, definitely not.
being that it's kind of more accepted now than in years past, I guess it must be freeing to be able to talk about these things now.
It is very freeing, and it's nice to know. I think everybody gets into this for a different reason. Some want to know if there's something after they die. Some people want to know, why is it this way? Some people just want the thrill. There's the thrill seekers that just want to be shocked and oohed, and then there's some of us who live in it who I do it because I want to know that I'm not crazy. I have constant feedback coming through spirit chatter or things in the room. And when you're a child and you're told about ghosts and ghost stories and things like that, but you're not really taught, oh, well, this is a gift that you have or whatever, because my mother's an empath and I'm an empath, and we have probably generations of all kinds of things that go on that were not acknowledged due to Christianity and their belief. And there's only one ghost, and that's the holy one. You don't talk about the rest. It was kind of a taboo. And I come from pretty deep East Texas, which you can't hear it so bad in the morning, but my later interviews, you'll hear it really strong, because as the day goes through, my strength of will, gets overpowered by my accent. But anyway, so, it started early. I was a very sick child. Ironically enough, I've spoke to a lot of people that have a lot of the talents and some of the curses that I have too, because it's not always a blessing. They call it a blessing and a gift, but it can be a curse also. That they were also born with night terrors, and I was born with night terrors. From a baby, like newborn baby. I've always had nightmares and things like that. And I'm not the only one. There's a lot of us who do different things and have different abilities that have the most gruesome nightmares. And I am not one to seek out horror at all. No gore, no horror, nothing scary. But I have the most growth, like they're gross. They're very graphic horror nightmares since I was a baby, like a small child. Things I shouldn't have even known about, because my mother didn't expose me to that either. She said I just couldn't handle it. And she was right. I mean, 100%, I can't handle it. Even this day, like you and I were talking about earlier, that show Evil on one of the streaming things, it's nothing. It's like a nothing horror thing. And I was horrified. First episode, I was like, I'm out. Give me some Care Bears. I need to watch Care Bears for a little bit. I just can't do it. But when I was young and I was sick, I had a giant bay window, and I'm horrified of thunderstorms. So this little old lady would come in and she'd rub my hair, and she'd sit on my bed, and I knew she wasn't there. So when you tell them, oh, this old lady keeps coming to me, they're like, oh, you were dreaming. That's a nice dream, but you were dreaming. And so later on, as I got a little older, my great grandmother was going through her pictures, and I go, well, that's the old lady that sits with me at night. And she goes, honey, that's my mama. She couldn't possibly be. She was dead long before you were even alive. And I always called my great grandmother Little Granny, and her mother was called Little Granny. Everyone else called her Grandma Williams. So I was the only one that called her Little Granny, and Little Granny was the person who was coming and sitting with me. So, and they looked almost identical. So at an early age, I must have identified her mother by her face and called her little granny, because I always thought it was peculiar that I called her little granny when that was her mother's name. But I could do it. I was one of the ones I could get away with it. I was the only girl in my age bracket, so I probably got away with a lot in my life I probably should not have. But it's good to be a girl, so I'll use it.
Well, I have an auditory type of ability myself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't claim it. I've been told I have all these abilities and whatnot. I don't practice it. I've never tried to pursue it. I've just had that where I'll hear somebody call my name, or somebody will say something to me, and it's like they're sitting right on my shoulder.
Definitely, you can feel it in your body.
Mm-hmm. But I always took it as it was just something in my brain that made me hear it, and it got bad. I was almost 10 years ago, I think. Mm-hmm. And I ended up checking into a facility,
right?
Because I thought that I was going crazy.
Yeah, you'd cracked. Yeah. So, and it's a horrible feeling. And I think there's more people in society that have this ability. Everyone hears their name being called. Like I'd like to find a human who could say, never in my life have I heard my name being called when no one in the room knew my name. Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of people can convince their brain, no, that's not real. Come on. Mm-hmm. Nobody called your name. Go on with life. But I believe that spirits reach out to everyone all the time. I just believe that some people are open to it and some people aren't. Yeah. So, but I don't think that everyone at this moment has that capability. But okay, let me go back. I don't think that any of us who can do this are these super cool creatures who can do all this magic. I think that everyone can do this magic. We are just touching different parts of our brain than other people. Mm-hmm. Now, whether it be via head trauma or, inherited anything, I think that since we use so little of our brain power, I think that it's just different parts of our brain that different people use. It's not just left brain, right brain. It's, I think there's other parts in that we do have this ability. I think we could do much more. I believe that people can move objects with their mind. I believe all of these things, and not because of magic, even though that would be so cool. I would totally be on board for safe, real Harry Potter magic. But, that's not our world. I mean, everything can be put in the gray, but some things are very black and white, and magic is, in my opinion, is very black and white. So you're either going to do good with it or you're going to do evil with it.
Whenever I would have those experiences is when I was alone, almost mm-hmm. isolated. But there was no one around, no one.
Right. Well, you had no distractions.
Yeah, that's exactly it. No distractions, and I was, I guess, somewhat meditating. I guess you'd say during those times. You went to
the plane. Mm-hmm.
But I never knew what it was.
Yeah.
Other than crazy. I thought I was crazy.
Exactly, and that's a horrible feeling to not know if you crack. Mm-hmm. Because even myself, knowing what I know, I always wonder, is this the time where I crack? And when I go on investigations too, I did a one-on-one investigation with our head lead, and with just one lady, her daughter, and Gabe and myself, and it was perfect. The lights were low, which is something I truly appreciate. And we went in there, and when I'm telling these people these things, I know nothing about anything. When I go into any investigation, I don't know anything. I don't want to know anything because I don't want anything to cloud my brain. So when I'm going in there, I'm telling her, different things. It sounds insane. I'm telling a woman about, something metal and powdery and, stuff in a corner like brake powder and stuff like that. I'm in a kitchen. Well, it was a gun on the other side of the wall, and it was familial. I could tell it was family, and it was her husband's uncle's gun on the other side of the wall. But when I'm saying, and when I'm standing in a kitchen going, I'm smelling metal, and it's weird. And especially when you have to translate things down, because my brain doesn't automatically, what first comes out of my mouth, you cannot take as what it is.
Mm-hmm.
My brain has to translate from things that I've experienced through my life to get it down to what it is. So like it may be, let's say baby powder. Okay. So baby powder, I may smell a baby powder. Well, then it's like, okay, baby powder. Well, maybe it's not baby powder. Maybe it's some other kind of powder that's white and very ultra fine and, you know, something like that. So my brain has to have a few minutes to work out male or female, if that's really what it is. Because all I'm going to do is my brain is going to grab the first thing it associates whatever I'm going with. It's just a word association game. And then as it processes, it's going to come down. It doesn't take a long time. You know, the max I think is about 30 minutes, but it will eventually work its way down and process it. But I think it is a gift, that the fact that my brain can process what's going on, and then break it down to what it is. So I feel blessed for that.
So can you break down to the exact moment you decided, hey, I can talk about this, or is it just something that just started happening?
It has literally only been a few years.
Mm-hmm.
My friend Brandy Allison, she was in this Hood Paranormal, and she had been watching me for years. Her ex-husband and my ex-husband knew each other as children, so we had been around each other quite a bit. And she's like, you have got to come out to our investigations. You have to go. And she's like, they've got to see what you can do. She's just absolutely loves it. She thinks it's cool as it can be. And so I went out there, and yeah, I mean, I became very beneficial at that one. It's supposed to have been built where they used to dump bodies from a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a housing development had been put on top of it. Of course, a housing development was put on top of it. So I went there, and it ended up being I was outside and I could feel something behind me, which was the room that they were investigating. They were having a lot of activity in, and it was just so heavy, and I could feel something so dark behind me. And I just got this horrible feeling that Brandy couldn't breathe. And so I ran in the house we actually got it on tape. I ran in there and I grabbed her, and she was like, you know, she was having a hard time breathing. So I grabbed her and I shoved everybody out. And I'm actually on the video. I'm actually having a complete breakdown, sobbing. I'm not a real weepy woman. So for me to sob is something, especially openly in front of people, it's kind of a big deal. But I had a woman scream, just crying in my face. And I'm in a pitch dark room. I've gotten them out, shut the door. They have cameras set up and all this kind of stuff. And for some reason, I didn't leave the room, which makes no sense. But, you know, he's screaming at me, and she's going, why? And they're just like, and it's at such a deafening level. And the sorrow was so insane. Like the sorrow just overtook any of my emotions, any rationality, anything. And it was just horrible. The pain, that's the worst part of it, of having these abilities, is feeling this agony of people. And, you know, spirits are still people.
Yeah.
You know, they're not fun. They're not toys. They can be dangerous. They can be sad. They can be every emotion that a human can be, because they are humans that have left their shell. And they're
literally a soul.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's horrible for humans who are still living to torment those who are not, because if they're still here, some of them, it's for a reason. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't have the answers. I don't know why some are here in one way and some are here in another way. I do know that some people, I have seen that they have this spiritual umbilical cord to their body, like right after a wreck, when they're still confused. They're not there, but they're still attached. You know, I feel like that's kind of that time where they could be resuscitated or couldn't be. You know, they're kind of half in, half out. I do believe that, because I've seen it, not with my human eyes, and I won't say my third eye, because I don't know enough about all that stuff, but I see it with another set of eyes that I see things. I don't physically see spirits in shape. I don't see their clothes. I don't see any of that, but I know their physical shape and their details and things like that. And it's not always immediate, but I know it. So these eyes don't mean anything. These eyes, when I'm doing this, are just for my human body to not get hurt, you know, to lead me. My eyes are my GPS, because if I don't see these things with my eyes, I may see a blur going out from here or there, but I don't see these things with my human GPS eyes. I see them with some other set of eyes somewhere in me that just knows. Because I can, at first I won't know if it's male or female, and by the end I may be describing your grandmother's shoes. So, you know, and that's hard sometimes.
So when you're using your abilities, has that made it possible to get evidence in that moment?
I believe so. I mean, me seeing those two spirits kind of, or not, I say seeing them, but I can't just, I mean, so I didn't actually see them. Knowing that those spirits were there and having them communicate physically, I feel, because I felt their emotions, so it was physical for me. And then in my face, it gave us proof that yes, there were things there. So yes, it gave the people who needed the answers some answers. For me, I don't get any kind of thrill out of doing it, aside from being able to help people find things. That's what gives me my joy, is when I can answer some questions for people, when I can make someone else happy by what I found. Like one woman not knowing that her aunt's or her grandmother's curio had Norman Rockwell bells and cups in it. And she was like, no, it only had cups. And I was like, just don't know. I feel bells. And she found out later from her great aunt that was their mother's stuff. And there were bells and cups, and she had the bells. They were just packed away in the attic. No one had seen for, a generation. So, that's pleasing. And I actually found them a will that they were looking for.
Oh, wow.
So that helped. And then I told, when we were doing investigations, some people came in to pick up a couch from the garage of the house that we were investigating. And I was like, hey, what do you know about a blue truck? Did you have what's a blue truck? He's like, I just had a blue truck stolen. And so I gave him some information about that. And they found the truck about a year later, exactly where I thought they had been.
Whoa.
Yeah. But what's bad is when you know something and you have to tell them, you need to look to your family. It's hard to tell someone, oh, you're missing some money. Well, you need to look to your family, because I could feel that familial link. And that's hard. Yeah. And if I'm not careful, I can hurt people that I shouldn't be, because it's my responsibility to keep it in check. And sometimes if I'm weak, I'll say things to people that I shouldn't have, that they were better left alone than for me to interrupt their day. So you have to really be very self-aware. And you sometimes leave haunted. Like there are things, I still know everything I ever should have told somebody that I didn't, because I didn't feel like it was an appropriate time. It's like
that's got to be difficult.
It is. It's a heavy burden, because I think, I didn't have the guts that day to tell them, especially before I was brazen enough to go up to people. Mm-hmm. I think of all these people that maybe they needed that. Is that spirit still walking around because I didn't tell it? Is that person haunted because they never got to say goodbye to their loved one? How many times did I miss helping someone because I didn't want to look like a freak? How many times did I miss helping people, alive and dead? Because of my own mortal fear of other humans' thoughts, which obviously, since I'm on a podcast talking about it, I don't really care anymore. My give a crap broke a long time ago. So,
well, one thing that I've never really asked anyone with abilities, but I've noticed that when I'm having a conversation with somebody, they will bring this up. But is there times for you that you feel like you need to verify something to validate that, yes, you have these abilities? It's almost like you doubt yourself.
All the time. Yeah, I've had a lot of head traumas. I was an epileptic as a child. Well, you're not one. So I've had a ton of head injuries. Plus, I'm not always the calmest of women, so I tend to put myself in situations I shouldn't. So, there's some head injuries in there that I probably could have avoided. But you know, I do. It's a constant thing. Is this when it hits? You know, is this the minute that all that brain trauma has thrown a clot, or, you know, is this the moment? But I don't think, I mean, I'm pretty validated. I'm okay with knowing that I have my things. My thing is, I'm always nervous of what's next, because as I've gotten older, I've developed more, or I've become aware of talents that I didn't know I had. So I think I'm more frightened of what's next. Because I'll be 45 next Monday, and something is brewing. I can feel that in me, just like I felt when I started smelling, and you know, as I pick up skills, I can feel this, I hate to say cauldron because I don't want to bring like all kinds of, but it's fine. I don't care. I've been called a witch like forever. I don't even care. I own it. That's cool. You know, I don't dabble in it, but you know, it's whatever. But you know, I can feel that cauldron kind of bubbling and brewing, because something is next. Something is going to develop, and I don't know what it is, and I'm frightened of what it is. It's change, and it's something I can't control, and I wonder, what will it be? You know, will it be that I actually like with these eyes see people, which is something I never want. I don't want that, because that would be horrifying to me. I mean, I'm a coward anyway when it comes to spooky stuff. And you know, the spirit chatter and all of these things, this is my normal day. Orbs, oh my God, I'll be watching Sopranos and an orb will go across the room, and I'm like, you know, and just going about watching it. You know, I'm not really excited about all of that. But I don't want to look over in the corner and see some dead old man. You know, I don't want to be occupied and look up and see, you know, somebody sitting in a chair, you know. So I worry about what the next transition is. I'm hoping it'll just be, my skills will get more honed in. But I think the thing that I feel the most is I'm jealous. I'm jealous that no one sees my people. I'm jealous that I don't see my people. I mean, I've known that they're there. I mean, my grandfather, who's been dead since 1970, I believe he's the one that pushed me into all this and genealogy and things like that. But like, there are people who are gone that I want to talk to. And you have this ability, but you can't do it for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a phone you can just dial in. And, you know, I believe that they're around me, but to know that you have the ability for other people and not for yourself, it's excruciating. So, yeah.
Why do you suppose? Because I know one of the first things that, and I'm guilty of this myself, but most people are like, hey, can you give me the lottery numbers or something like that? Why is there almost a constraint or restraint or what have you, that you're not able to do something beneficial for yourself like that?
You know, I think it goes against nature. I mean, I think there are people out there that could do that, but like, say the lotto numbers, nobody knows what the lotto numbers are going to be. They're on these balls who are just jumbling around, you know, that land a particular way. It's like, you know, throwing bones or something. You don't know how the bones are going to turn out. You know, the same thing with the lottery. You know, I don't think that anyone can predict it because no one knows it yet. That's at least my opinion on say like the lotto. But okay, for example, on readings, my mother's a super strong empath, and so am I. My mother cannot read me, and I can't read my mother. But my youngest daughter is a strong empath, and she and I can read each other from states away. We know something is wrong or right, and granted, it's that maternal thing, but some people just cannot read each other. So it's just, I don't know. I got a little off on that. But yeah, it's crazy. I don't know why we can't help ourselves. I mean, some people do. I've heard of people who, and honestly, I think a lot of writers have abilities, and I don't think that their brain like mine. has the ability to function in the way that mine does, as far as reading it and talking about it and stuff, I think that their writing, their abilities are put into writing because they're unable to auditorily talk about it in real life. And I think a lot of authors, they're so good that talk about these spirits and things that as a person like me goes, holy hell, how the, I couldn't have described it better myself. I do not believe that just a person out there can describe the feelings of someone like me without being a person like me.
Because I've often asked that question, what is it like to have those abilities? And nobody can really give a definitive answer to that question.
Oh,
they can give you a perhaps or
yeah,
examples.
But, I think it's hard to talk about yourself in that way. It's kind of like me as a photographer. It's hard to be in front of the camera instead of behind it because it's our safety blanket. But and I don't think any of us really know. Like, some of us don't like titles. I've been called empath, clairvoyant, medium. It all seems very weird to me to be called anything, because it's not like I went to college and got this degree to be this thing. I was born, I cried a lot, I dreamed a lot, I developed into what I am today. That's just how it is. It's so mainstream to me. It's very weird to be given a title, even though I'm sure I fit into all of them. I do all of these things. I mean, and I don't know, it's odd, but it's always a kind of for me, it's always a sinking kind of feeling in a way, because you are always in an environment that you can't control.
Yeah.
And people are unaware of the fact that even type A's, oh, I'm in control of everything. Sorry, dude, not even close. You close your mind down to where you make your wall, so strong, and your area so small that you can control your little block, but you are in a block. You're in an infinity. So to say you control your environment is probably the most ridiculous statement that you can say, because you don't really control your environment. There are a million different things in your environment that are controlling themselves that you have no control over. So
one of the things that I used to talk about is like destiny or predestination, and what a lot of people don't fathom. And hey, feel free to correct me if you think I'm wrong, but there are certain paths that are already laid out. You remember those books that we used to get as kids where you'd read so far and then it's
and you get to pick.
Yeah, you pick this and then you go to this page, or you pick this and you go to this page. I think life is like that. You've already got an answer if you take this path, as you already have an answer if you're going to choose the other way. So yes, it's predestination, but still, when you have free will and you make certain choices, you have free will, but this is what the outcome is going to be. Right.
Well, I have a daughter who believes, her and her husband believe in predestination. I don't believe in predestination. It's hard for me to fathom that that has already been thought out by God, that we are going down this path and he gives us free will and we get to the crossroads and then we choose. I think that we as humans are at a crossroad with every action that we do. So I just can't believe in it, but I'm not saying it's right or wrong. You may be 100% right. I may be 100% wrong. You never know. As a human, we have a right to believe and to free think, for whatever we believe in. If that's what you believe in and that is good for you, then I believe in it. As long as you're doing good and not evil and you're helping society instead of breaking it down, then I don't care what someone believes. They could believe that the Muppets, are the Antichrist. I don't care. I like the Muppets, so I'll watch them. Animal's a little shady and Grover, but it's okay. But
Animal was my favorite.
Well, maybe he believed in predestination. But you know, I don't throw stones at anybody. I will stay away from some people because of their beliefs.
Yeah.
But I won't judge a person for their beliefs. They have to believe what they have to believe because it's their path.
It makes them who they are.
Yeah. And I appreciate, you know, everyone for however they are, whether I like it or not. I appreciate the fact that if they're being genuine.
It's hard to find, though. It's really hard to find.
And I think that people aren't genuine because they're fearful. People lie out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
It's a rare case that people lie out of enjoyment. Most people lie out of fear. You know, some people will lie to gain things, but on the majority, I believe people lie out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
I think hate is made out of fear.
Oh yeah. No, it is. I mean, that was a defense mechanism. I don't think people realize that when you have certain ways that you react when you meet someone you don't know, that you have that fight or flight almost all the time. So definitely. That's how our ancestors survived way back when. And, I mean, we can.
My cat.
Oh, that's okay. We get to know each other a lot easier when you got social media and all that stuff going on, and we mix and mingle. That we have no room for that anymore. But I think it's just ingrained in us.
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. We are in a time that we have knowledge, true knowledge, original knowledge from the source at our fingertips, and we choose to believe the third person that you hear on TikTok, FaceTime, you know, whatever. We choose to believe that because we've become so lazy. We are a lazy society now who would rather hone their opinions in on someone that they've heard. And when you say check the facts, they listen to 3 more people on the same person's page who believes in the exact same thing. When I say don't believe me, don't believe anyone, go down to the source, I mean go down to the law, go down to the legislation, go down to the author who originally wrote it. Don't stop at me, don't stop on the way, you know, get some snacks and gas on the way down to the route, but go all the way. You know, don't just believe whatever. Don't even just believe me. I tell my children, don't just believe me. I'm going to tell you what I know from my experiences. If you want to know the real facts, you take it down further than me. You know, go to the beginning. If you want to fight about something, go to the legislation. Go read the actual thing in full. Mm-hmm. Don't just type it in Google and they'll bring you up a few key points from the legislation. Read the whole damn document, no matter how boring it is. And well, I don't understand it. Well, you've got a computer in your hand.
Yep, right there, literally at your fingertips.
You can click a word on an iPad, on anything iDevice, and push look up, and it will tell you what the word is. No one should be ignorant in this time. You know, if you have the accessibility to the stuff, no one should be ignorant.
We're at a point where we need fact checkers for the fact checkers because they get it wrong all the time.
Oh man, it's insane.
Don't get me started on that, Brad. Yeah, going down that rabbit hole.
Let's just change topics because I think we're on the same boat on that one. But yeah, I can't do it. But yeah, having the ability is I thought it a curse at first. Sometimes it is a curse, but I can't say that whatever powers be. I got put on some medicine one time that made me have no ability. It fogged my brain so much. I wouldn't want to live like that. I just wouldn't want to live like that. I don't know how regular humans do it. It's horrifying. It is horrifying to not be able to feel anything.
And a lot of those medications, they ended up making things worse than what they were supposed to fix.
Oh, man. Yeah, wow. Yeah, I try to not be on any kind of medication at all as far as on a daily thing because it's just no wonder the society is what it is when you think of all the generations that had to go through these medication trials as guinea pigs. Yep. You know, and then they raised children who had these issues because their parents were on these medications and they got beat and they got abused and they got neglected and all this. And they're having children and they're, trying to figure out how to be a parent on skills that they can't be. And, it's just.
Doctors get a kickback from these pharmaceutical companies, which is
Right.
why I think they're so quick to hand out these pills like they're candy, instead of let's try something alternative before we go to that step of having to use medication. Meditation alone has helped so much. I've dealt with PTSD and anxiety, and
gonna let that happen.
of course not.
I mean, if they would just legalize marijuana across the charts, cancers would be going down. Because I mean, you can see the medical proof that it kills some cancer cells.
Mm-hmm.
Make it mainstream, make it safe, and then go on. Even shrooms, they have, it's just now coming out, the micro dosing, which I don't know anything.
I'm actually studying that right now.
Yeah, I find it fascinating, but I would hate to know what my brain would be doing on shrooms. Let's just say I would be afraid it wouldn't be pink elephants. I'd be afraid it would be like green dead people. So I'm going to stay away from any of that kind of stuff. But
when they finally legalize marijuana, I'm going to invest heavily in pizza and potato chips.
Oh, Cheetos.
Cheetos.
I'm buying Cheetos stock. Oh man, I'm getting in the Frito-Lay family, let me tell you. Because man, Cheetos, there's nothing, that is truly, unless you're a toddler, that's the only time a Cheeto tastes good. Like truly tastes good. Right. So yeah, I'm going straight for the Cheetos. And you can have the pizza franchises. I'm going for the Cheeto brand. Yeah. Anything with powdery, crunchy, and cheesy.
Oh, that's right. Now you're making me hungry again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to walk around like the hot dog vendor at Yankee Stadium with Cheeto bags.
Cheetos. Yep. Get your Cheetos here.
Oh, you could stock a whole dispensary with Bud if you just like handed out, trade me Bud for chips. You could stock a whole store. Yeah, so.
Well, I want to get back to some of your experiences, because I know people are going to want to hear if you have some cases or even personal experiences that have stood out that you could maybe share with us.
Sure. Like I said, I haven't had a lot of investigating experience. I've gone on 3 or 4 investigations. Mm-hmm. But as far as my life, there was a situation with an old man at a Target that I ran into, that I was very irresponsible with, and brought up his dead wife. It was painful for him, and I inflicted pain on a man that was barely making it that day by. I was weak, standing in line, and I said, I just had this overwhelming, just needed to say how sorry I was about his wife. And when I turned around, I said, I'm so sorry about your wife. And he got excited. Oh, you knew her? And I had to say, oh, no, sir, I'm sorry. I just, have that guilt. But I inflicted pain on him by bringing it up when he was fine. And I feel bad about that. And then there's a little girl at the Granbury Paranormal Festival a few years back. Just had this, I was on stage and had this crazy feeling that she needed to be told what a good job she did on a test. And I said, hey, did you just get a good grade on something? And she was like, her and a little friend were like, oh, and I was like, did you? And she's like, yes, ma'am, I got 100 on my test. I said, I am so proud of you. You did such a good job. And, it's moments like that are great. I don't know why someone told me about that little girl. Someone told me, I didn't just know. Someone told me, I don't know if it was just the spirit that knew, or a relative of hers, or if she just needed it that day. But I was able to tell that little girl, you did such a good job. I am so proud of you, and so it's moments like that that are worth every bit of agony I go through with what I can do, because I don't know her home life. I don't know, but I can promise you, but for the rest of her life, she will remember that lady that was at the paranormal, thing. And my hair tends to get me able to do things. People will come up to me to talk about my hair, and it ends up talking about spirits. So when I'm out and about, I try to wear my hair down unless it's an investigation, which I've learned to keep my hair up most of the time, because it'll get pulled. Small children, spirits like to pull my hair in restaurants, and little kid ghosts freak me out. Why? I mean, it's just, I just can't. I mean, I'm not anti-kid or anything, but when they're dead, I want them to be in a happy place, and
just leave me be.
But the kids are creepy. You feel this tiny little, and it's not there. It's sweet when but a little kid, and it's sweet sometimes too. It's sad more than anything, because they're not here. They're not here to be able to be grown. They're not here to be, but I've always, when I was a little girl, we would go to cemeteries, of course, Deep East Texan, we go to cemeteries. And I remember putting lizards on little boys on their graves, and flowers on little girls, and talking to them. And so I wonder what ability did I have back then? Because Mother said I used to wake up in the middle of the night and play in my sleep. She said full on play. Should I have my toys out? I was talking, I was playing, and she'd have to lay me down and put me back to sleep. Was I playing with the spirit in my sleep? Is that you don't know. I mean, my youngest daughter, she's similar to me, not quite the same as me, but similar. And she's always talked in her sleep, full conversations that are correct. They're not gibber like a dream. She's having a conversation with someone. So are we communicating when we're on that plane? Are we communicating with somebody? You just don't know. I mean, why do little kids freak me out now when they used to not when they were in the cemetery? Is it because that's where they belonged? I knew that they were there, and that's where they were. And as a little girl, that made sense to talk to them in the cemetery, but as I'm growing into my 20s and having children and remembering things like that, it was hard to not think I was crazy. What a weird little child that would go and talk to people in the cemetery. Now I go and eat lunch in cemeteries. Like, it's the only place I can actually focus is in a cemetery. I'll go and there'll be a headstone that will just draw me to it. And I'll sit and talk to them. Hey, how's it going? Or just be perfectly quiet. So, yeah.
Do you have a telltale sign of when you're either getting a message, or you're talking to your spirit guides, or you're talking to a spirit in general?
No. Well, I guess I just have this overwhelming feeling to talk. Like to say something. Like with Mike, I'll call him when he's at work. Hey, listen, are you getting this too? Because he and we shadow each other that way. A lot of times he's like, yeah, I'm feeling it too. And the spirits know when he and I are going to be together, which we always find is odd. He and I will both start getting things really heavy, like the day before we go to dinner or something like that. It's like they know. And I don't know if it's just Mike and I kind of shutting off the real world to know that we're going to be around each other and what we're going to talk about. I don't know if we allow things in more or if they push us more. I don't know how that works, but we can tell that. And then you get the gut feeling, and like you said, the heaviness on the shoulders. But I live with this every day. So for me, I think it just becomes, like the sight of blood for an EMT. It's every day. It's
like you're desensitized to it in a
way. I believe that.
I got you.
And it's easy to be when it's an everyday. I mean, like right now I'm in the middle of an apartment complex. There's something in the corner. I guess they know we're talking. So I can feel them. I know they're here. But it's whatever.
I've sat here doing interviews with other psychics and people with abilities, and all of a sudden they'll say, oh, somebody's standing behind you, or I've just got a message for you, and something like that. I never ask anybody to do a reading on me or anything.
It's very awkward.
We're doing this,
especially when you're around a bunch of people who have no abilities that way. Because you become their pet monkey.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah, it gets really annoying because I have to tell them, you know what, we don't we don't just do this. I can't just flip a switch and, you know, make a grandmother come through. You know, I'm just a vessel. That's all I am. You know, the vase can't choose what you pour in it. You know, so, you know, sometimes it's just a vase.
Yeah, true.
You know, other times it holds flowers or candy or marbles or whatever. You don't get, the vase doesn't get to choose what it has. So I'm just a vase, but it gets annoying sometimes.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's certain circumstances, which I guess if they ever come across this or any of the other ones, the gig is up, and I've advertised it a little bit, but you know, we're not monkeys. We're not, you can't just ding, 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 and we're going to pop up and come up with something. We're humans that do something, and we appreciate everyone's curiosity about it. That's what fuels our ability to do this, is curiosity. But be polite about it. Say, you know, let us know that you're open to knowing if something comes through, but don't treat us like we're second-class humans if we can't produce what you're wanting. You know, and I tend, that Scottish temper tends to come out a little bit when they're like, oh, well, I thought you could do that. Well, you know what? I thought you could be a decent human being too, but you're not succeeding at that very well right now. You know, so, you know, just let them know, oh, I'm open to that. You know, and more people, let people around you know I'm open to hear, because even the most skeptical person has had an encounter. Everyone has had an encounter. It's just, how did you categorize it in your brain, in your life of memories?
Yeah. Did you even realize you were having then an experience like that?
And I tend to be able to help people more with their dreams. They seem to be okay with having a dream interpretation versus a spirit come through. So I don't do it like the books. I've seen the books. I don't understand the dream books. Most people's dreams are manifested from whatever's going on in their life. So dream reading is actually more psychological than it is spiritual. But I do believe in angel numbers.
Yeah, I've noticed those a lot lately.
It's crazy. I've noticed them a lot more since the pandemic started. I think that with all of these deaths, like more deaths than what we're usually alert to. I don't think it's more deaths than what normally happens, but could be. But I think with it hitting more of us on a more fragile basis, I think that there's a traffic jam. And I think that's why a lot of things are coming through. I think that there's a lot of very confused people because there were a lot of sudden deaths. And anytime you get a sudden death, you get a lot of spiritual chaos. You know, I can't imagine being around an actual disaster. The static must be insane, like 9/11, things like that, with so many sudden deaths and so much confusion. But I've come up on some pretty bad wrecks that have just happened. Ooh, that just makes my whole I feel like my head is just standing up. But I've driven by where a bad wreck had just been cleaned up or something, and it's just crazy. The activity is just crazy, you know. And I wish I could drive by a wreck and not know there was a fatality, but I can't. I know for months that someone died there. So
do you do one-on-one readings?
I do. I mean, it's not, I don't do bookings or anything. I could do it. I just haven't decided to do that yet or how to advertise it. But, you know, if someone has a dream, contact me. Let me help you. See if I can help you figure it out. Because usually a person, if you work with them, they can work out their own dreaming. And it helps them with further dreams to teach them the skills of how to break down the things that are going on in their life and the associations of the things that have happened to them before and how they can break it down to interpret their own. But if a person has, for me and some other people, if you dream the same dream 3 days in a row, you need to interpret it because it's trying to guide you. But if it's just a one night thing and it's driving you crazy, ask someone to help you interpret it that doesn't believe in all these books.
Can't always believe everything that's in books, but
yeah. I mean, they help. They're a good baseline.
Of course.
You have to get with someone who, you know, you're not going to have a tooth pulled by a psychiatrist. So why have a dream interpreted by someone who doesn't know anything about it? But I enjoy the dreams. I enjoy dream interpretation and helping people figure that out through what's going on in their life. But a lot of people don't want to be honest with you, and you can't really help them if they're not honest.
Yeah.
But at least you can give them enough guidelines to where maybe they can be honest with themselves away from you, and kind of break it down, because to be haunted by a dream is horrible.
Yeah. Tell me about it. I've had
one... Oh, do we need to talk in private?
Maybe.
Call me later, Kyle.
I have had a reoccurring dream that has happened for years and years and years. And I don't know, I've been told certain things, and since I've tried to deal with it, I haven't really had that dream again. So I don't know if I've gotten past that point.
I think if you're not thinking about it or having it anymore, then I think you've figured it out. Your brain has let it rest. Yeah. So I think you're pretty good on that one. But if it's something that haunts you, even though you've tried to figure it out and it just continues and continues. So that's a good example. Okay. So like you with your dream, it just wouldn't go away, right? It just was always looming there. That's kind of how I feel with my abilities. There's always something looming. It's like a book you stop 2 pages before the end. And until you get confirmation of whatever reading you've done, or you've completed whatever task that you've been asked to do by spirits or whatever, then it's kind of like your dream, to where it daunts on you. Like you're like, what did, it's always kind of in the back of your mind. That's kind of like what it is to have my ability for me. It's like, it's always something that I haven't figured out. And until I get confirmation, there are investigations or things I've said to people that they were strangers and I've never knew them, and they didn't accept it, that what I was telling them. And I will die thinking of these people. That did they ever get closure? Did he ever acknowledge his grandmother was there? Did he acknowledge this or that? So it's hard to walk around without closure, I guess is what it would be. Yeah. And investigating fills that for me.
That's a whole nother show in itself.
Whole nother show.
Well, if people want to get in contact with you, how can they do so?
They can find us on Facebook at Hood Paranormal. I go through the messages daily. Okay. So, and it's just Hood, HOOD Paranormal. So they can find me there. And then we can branch off and let me help them. We can investigate their homes, or I can have a one-on-one with them, if they just want to meet. And we can be discreet. It doesn't have to be on air or spoken about. I meet with people all the time on a one-on-one that are just referred to me. So don't hesitate to reach out to me or any of the paranormal groups that, speak to them as a person, because the personalities can't clash. You have to trust the person that you're getting the reading from, because if you don't, then you're just going to think it's hooky. Yeah. So, reach out to someone you trust and believe that they can help you. And, no matter who someone reaches out to, they need to always be very cautious of something being too good to be true.
Yes.
Because there are people in our fields that prey on people. So always, keep your wallet out of the scenario unless someone's being paid a certain fee, or you are choosing to tip someone for helping you. Be wary of the ones who come at you immediately with those kind of things.
Oh yeah. But, get on Instagram and
check them out.
There'll be somebody who's a tarot reader or psychic or whatever, and they'll follow me, and so then I follow them back, and immediately I get a message. Can I interest you in a reading?
Yeah.
No, that's okay. Thank you. You sure? Because I could tell you about this. No, I'm good. Thank you, though.
Yeah. If they do message us on Hood County, just make sure that they say, this is for Michelle or Mike or whoever they want to speak to in our group. That way, the other ones, if they catch the messages before I do, then they'll be, hey, you've got a message on this, or they can contact me directly through my Facebook, which is just Michelle Gray. So, but
Gray, if you want people to know.
Yes. So that's just the easiest way, is through Hood Paranormal, and then we can do what we need to do, and we can come out and investigate. It doesn't have to be. We can do it to any degree. If you just want me to come out and look around and tell you, or you just need to talk. If you think you're having abilities and you're scared and you don't know what to do, don't be scared. Reach out to someone in the paranormal community. And if they can't help you, they'll generally send you somewhere to someone who can. So you don't have to be scared like I was. You don't have to think you're crazy. You know, everyone's crazy. You just have to figure out which crazy you are.
Was it Charles Manson that said that used to be that being crazy meant something, and now everybody's crazy?
Yeah. Yep, he's not the Lone Ranger on craziness anymore.
So it's just the Facebook page, or do y'all have any other?
We do have other things, but I am horrible. So the best way is just through Facebook. We do have a YouTube channel, but I don't handle, like I said, I don't handle that part of it. But as far as messaging, just Hood Paranormal is the fastest and easiest way to get a hold of me.
Is there a link to your YouTube on your Facebook page?
Yes, there is, I believe.
Okay. I can share them both.
Yeah, I'll get you all the information for everything.
Sure. Any website?
No.
No website yet?
No, I know.
We don't either.
Everyone says you should do all these things. Man, if I do all those things, I have to remember the passwords.
Right.
And I'm out of passwords. Like, I can no longer be clever with passwords. I'm out because I've forgotten them all and had to redo them. So I'm completely out of clever passwords. But yeah, just reach out to us or reach out to anyone. There's no need to be scared or anything. And we can, like I said, we can investigate to any level that needs to be.
Great.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you so much, Kyle, for having me.
Thank you for spending this morning with me. And
yeah, anytime.
I look forward to any more collaboration that we might be able to have. And,
perfect. I love it.
Anyway, to everyone out there, if you are new to the channel, thank you for stopping by. I hope you subscribe. And to all my regulars, thank you for your loyalty. I really appreciate it. So until the next one, please, everyone, take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
Peace out.
Po boy.